Good afternoon and welcome to the B&H virtual event space. You are tuned in to Best Accessories for New Photographers, hosted by Sony. And for that, we'd like to welcome Sony Ambassador Mahesh Thapa. He's ready to go. I promise we did not. This is 2 days in a row that the colors have just kind of worked with me and the guests. Mahesh, we didn't plan this, right?
Not at all.
No, we just, I'd like to think that this is two people in a row that I'd like to say that if I am on the same page with them as far as my setup and the colors that I'm choosing, I'm going in the right direction here. I'm
Oh.
hanging around. I'm rolling with the winners. So, Mahesh, always great to have you on, man. How you been?
Good, though. Thank you. Always the flatterer. I appreciate that.
Uh,
It'll get you everywhere. I've been doing well. Just the weather has changed a little bit here in Seattle. It went from hot summers to it's cooled down, which is actually quite nice in fall. But it's getting a little too cold and rainy, so I brought my Hawaiian shirt out. Try to influence the
good,
weather in some cosmic way if I can. Get a little
good
bit of sunshine. Let's
vibes.
see if that works.
Awesome, awesome. Well, look, I'm gonna let you do your thing. This is for all you new photographers out there, or the salty old vets like me who just still stuck on a camera and lens and can't get to the through the accessories thing. So, Mahesh, I'm gonna see you in a little bit for some Q&A. Do your thing.
All right, thanks, brother. My name is Mahesh Thapa. I am a Sony Alpha Ambassador. So this talk is being sponsored by Sony, and some of the products that I'm using to show the accessories will have Sony stuff on it or attached to it or whatever. But these are accessories I feel like you can apply to any format, any camera system. And you should see the front of my desk. I mean, here all you see is a little top of my microphone, but my rest of my desk is filled with stuff, and hopefully I can get to all of these that I want to show with you guys. But there's not going to be no particular order. If you have questions, make sure you sort of put them in the chat. I think Derek and the gang will keep track of all the things, and maybe as I'm showing these things, they can also put up links if you guys are interested in, and if B&H has them or whatever. It's up to you, but make things easier. So I'm just going to start out. Now, I know we're talking about camera accessories for beginners, but I think of a lens as being an accessory. Oftentimes when you buy a camera, maybe it's your first mirrorless or first DSLR or something, and it comes with a kit lens. And oftentimes the kit lens isn't the best. And some people think, well, I've got this kit lens, I'm learning how to use it. It's great, but what should I get next? A lot of people will recommend another zoom lens. Typically, when you buy a camera, it's going to come with a kit zoom lens, which is not usually the best quality. There's some that are great, but usually not. And somebody will recommend, well, get another zoom that's in the similar range, but with better optical quality. I sort of go the other way. I said the second lens that you should get should probably be a prime lens because oftentimes it's much smaller. And as a beginner, you probably don't want to carry around a lot of big lenses. It's usually much faster as far as aperture, so it's great for low light, gives you great shallow. A lot of people want to take portraits, things with it, throw out the background. So whether you have an APS-C, a micro four thirds, or a full frame, the second lens that I recommend if you don't have is a prime lens. Now, which prime lens should you get? Well, it depends on your interest. For example, I shoot APS-C and full frame. So for example, for my full frame, this is the sort of first lens that I got to walk around with. And this is the 40 millimeter f2.4 or f2.5. I can never remember what that is. 2.5 millimeter Sony G lens. Now it's weather sealed. It's tiny. It's really, really tiny. Compared to, for example, my regular zoom lens that I have, like a 24-70 or whatever. I mean, look at the difference, or 16-35. Look at the difference in size. I mean, and this is the heft on this is incredible compared to what this is. So, and it's much faster lens, right? So I recommend getting some kind of a prime lens. Now, there's something equivalent in APS-C. For example, a 35 millimeter equivalent or a 50 millimeter equivalent means that if you get a 35 millimeter lens on an APS-C, it'll be about a 50 millimeter equivalent. If you get a 24 or 28, it'll be about a 35 millimeters, something like that. So as my first accessory that I think you should think about is a prime lens to complement your zoom lens. Then you could go on from there to get other lenses. That's fine. But let's say your primary interest isn't so much portraits or street photography, and you really like to do astro or want to dabble in landscape. Then your primary first prime lens probably should be like a 24 millimeter f1.4 or a 14 millimeter, something that's in the ultra wide or wide range with a fast aperture to get that nice low light performance that stars would need. So, and let's say you are want to do really long portraits, maybe like so an 85 millimeter, for example. This is a 85 millimeter f1.8 made by Sony. Again, very tiny, very, very fast lens, and it won't break the bank, because it's fast, but it's not like 1.2 fast. So a prime lens is the perfect candidate for your second lens, I think. That's the first accessory. And then I think about, well, what else? I literally, before this talk, I went into my bag that I have, and I came out and I said, okay, what actually do I have in there? And these are all things that are in my bag currently. So memory cards, don't forget about memory cards. And I think it matters what memory card you use. This is made by Sony. It's called the Tough Card. It's not so much the what size you have, or the speed does matter a little bit, but just the quality of the lens. I'm going to drop this on my desk and you'll see what this sounds like. Do you hear that? That sounds like a piece of metal dropping, because this in fact is metal. I have run over this kind of card with my car. I've dropped it in the ocean, believe it or not, when I was opening up my bag, doing some seascapes, and no problem using this whatsoever. So there's a reason they call it the Tough Cards, and they come in various sizes. I have a 64 here, but 128, 256, whatever you like. Whether you're using SD cards or using express cards, they have a version. So I think at least one or two memory cards that are high quality. Basically, these guys are indestructible. So something to think about over there. And when you have your memory cards, you want something to store them in. So this is just a generic SD card storage device. But what I like about it is it's aluminum and it's lightweight. So there are many card holders out there. I don't know what brand this is. There isn't even a label on it. So something equivalent to this would be fine. But you open it up and you notice this is where all my memory cards are stored. It's great to keep track of what you have. Once I've used a memory card, what I'll do is I'll turn them over to the other side so I know they're used. Or what you could do is you can keep the used on one side and the unused on the other side, however you want to organize it. But something like this is a lot easier to find in your bag than just having individual SD cards somewhere, because they're so tiny. They're like thumbnail size, or they're like stamp size. So it's hard to find them unless you have them in a case. You just find a case, and it's great. And it's also protective, although I don't get this for the protective nature, because like I said, these cards are like super duper indestructible. So I get this more for the organization. So an SD card holder or memory card holder, I think, is one of the essential tools that you want to look at. Please realize that I'm mainly a nature and landscape photographer, so many of the things I recommend is going to have that bias to it. If you're a portrait or wedding photographer, there may be other things that are more essential than what I'm talking about. So please do forgive me for that sort of bias. Whenever I go out, it's often on a hike, or I'm going on a backpacking trip, and I think about, well, what are the things that I will need out in inclement weather? And one of the things that people don't think about, which I think is essential, is just a small lightweight umbrella, believe it or not. This is, again, a generic brand, but something that's lightweight and small, but sturdy. You want an umbrella that won't get ruined or get or flop out when it's windy. A lot of the very, very cheap umbrellas, they can't stand wind very much, and oftentimes a little bit of wind is what you'll feel when you're next to a waterfall. Just from the spray and the force of the water as the waterfall is coming, it actually generates a lot of wind, and you want an umbrella that's relatively sturdy. This is actually very, very lightweight, very, very sturdy. It's made by, it's called Kemova, Kemovan. I don't know where I got this. Maybe I got this like on Amazon or something. I'm not sure, but something equivalent is great. I often will deploy the umbrella when I'm shooting waterfalls, because there's a big spray of water that comes, and it often gets all the front element wet or gets the lens wet. And even if equipment is weather sealed, you don't want to get it super drenched. So I'll just deploy the umbrella. I'll hold it over my camera system and the lens And if it's raining, for example, I don't have to worry about drips and stuff. And then I take the picture. Another thing I also do is, let's say I have my camera. Sorry, let me show my camera. Let's say my camera set up like this, and I'm pointing it at the waterfall. I'll deploy the umbrella and hold it like this. I'll get all my settings. I'll wipe off the front element, and this umbrella, when it's held like this, deployed and held like this, it'll stop the spray from the waterfall from hitting the front element of your lens. And you've got everything set. As soon as you're ready to take a shot, you lift the umbrella, take a shot, put the umbrella back, do a little wipe of your front element, take the umbrella back, and take a shot. So that ensures that you'll minimize the number of water droplets that hit the front element of your lens. A small detail, but it's been invaluable to me. So in post-production, I don't have to go get rid of all these little water drops and things like that. So that's another great use of the umbrella. So I always have this in my bag. Okay, so what else do I have here? Of course, extra batteries, right? You don't want to be out in the field and not have any extra batteries. For example, the Sonys are great at battery life. You know, the new Z batteries are great, but there's some other systems, even other older Sony cameras where the battery life wasn't so great. So just a couple of batteries, and I hold them, the batteries, in this sort of little think tank bag. It's great. All I need is two usually. And I like this particular one because it's soft. It protects the gear very well. And I can just easily put this in my bag, no problem. Doesn't take a lot of space. A little pro tip, I always put my batteries in this way. If you notice, the little arrows, for example, are pointing up. That tells me that the batteries are full. Once I've used them up, I take them out and I turn them this way, where the contacts are facing forward and not the arrow. So that helps me decide or know which battery I have already used that needs to get charged and which are still full. So having an organization system like this really helps with that. I mean, it's a little thing, but in the field, it makes a difference every so often. Okay. Another thing that you may not think about, because modern cameras have levels in them, digital levels built in and all that. But oftentimes, if you haven't set it as a default to show, you have to go into the menu system, choose the grid lines or choose to display the levels histogram. A simple thing, a very, very simple thing, I'll show you another camera here, is a little bubble, a bubble level. They're so cheap. They're like $5 for $5 or something. It's a little bubble level like this. No brand name. Often they're even given out for free at like trade shows or whatever. And I just always have one of those up here in my hot shoe. That way I know exactly if my horizon is level or not by just quickly looking at the top of my camera and not having to dig in through the menu system and show if the horizon is correct or not. And also realize that the horizon indicator on your camera sometimes need to get calibrated because it could get thrown off and you think it may be level when it's not. This mechanical thing, it never gets thrown off, right? It's not something that needs to get calibrated. As long as the top of your camera is flat, this will always show the correct horizon. All right, great. So that's another, it's a little thing, but I think it makes a lot of difference as you do your day-to-day shooting. What else? Okay, as a landscape and nature photographer, a tripod. A tripod is essential for what I do. There are great cameras out there with great image stabilization. Some cameras even you can handle 2, 3, 5 seconds sometimes. Some of the smaller sensor cameras. The Sonys have gotten a lot better recently, particularly with the A7R5, where we have like 8 stops of image stabilization. But still, you're not going to be able to do a 30-second shot handheld with it. You're not going to be able to do a 10-second shot. You're not going to do astro with it. So a tripod is essential. Now, I use tripods almost all the time, even if the shutter speed is fast and I don't need it for blurry images. What people don't realize is the tripod lets you step away from your camera and survey the environment and really step back and see how the composition is. You can fine tune everything because it's on a stable platform. You can make minute changes left to right, up or down. You can move it sideways, right? And get the framing exactly the way you want it. You want to go home and say, oh, you know what? that little rock there, I wish that wasn't there. I wish I would have framed it. Having it on a tripod lets you sit back and do the composition very, very well. And you can, of course, the other benefit is you have nice stable platform. You can get long exposures. And I don't like to carry big, bulky tripods because as I get older, I'm carrying less and less equipment, lighter equipment, and that includes a tripod. I'll still carry a tripod because I find it essential for my type of work. I'd rather leave a lens behind than leave a tripod behind. And here's just one example. It's a travel tripod. It's pretty pretty lightweight, pretty small. It's compact. If I go anywhere, this fits easily in my carry-on bag. This is made by a company called Vanguard, and the model, I'll just get that model for you here if I can get it quickly. It's called the VO3 Go 265 HCB. Again, VO3 Go 265 HCB. And this is a carbon fiber tripod, so it's nice and sturdy. It has a lot of stability, but doesn't weigh very much. The reason I like brands like Vanguard is, many years ago, I used to get Gitzo, Manfrotto all the time. They were great tripods. They still are, but they're quite pricey. They're quite expensive. And as somebody just starting out, you don't want to spend that kind of money on a tripod, I think. So companies have come out with great sturdy tripods at a very, very reasonable price. So I like this company they make bags also. The bag that I carry, I'll show you later, is also made by Vanguard, and the tripod is also made by Vanguard. They're great. And they have different levels, right? So this is a travel tripod. So if you need something more sturdy because you have a bigger system, there's a bigger version of that. But make sure whatever brand you use, make sure you carry a nice sturdy tripod that's reliable. Don't get those really cheap, flimsy ones that as soon as you go in the field, use it a couple times, it breaks or it's not very stable and your camera falls off the tripod. Pay attention to the weight limit of a tripod. That makes a difference. You don't want to stress the system and put more weight than it can. Not only will it's not so much that it won't hold the system up, because it'll hold up more than what the weight limit is, but it won't be a steady system, right? So you'll have little micro vibrations, and the whole point of having a tripod is to get as steady an image as possible, so you have a nice sharp image. And if you exceed the weight limit of a tripod, it probably will still hold it up, but you won't get a stable platform. So tripod is, I think, essential. Along with the tripod, you want to get a good ball head. Oftentimes, the ball heads that come with the tripod are good enough. I don't, for example, this one that I just showed you, the ball head that came with it, I don't know what the model is. It was just fine. But if you get one of those cheap tripods, the ball heads that come with it may not, again, be very good. And, what makes the ball head good or bad? It's like, when you tighten all the knobs and everything and you let the camera go, the really bad ball heads will still sag a little bit. It won't maintain the same position as where you put it. So really be careful and test out your ball head that, okay, I've got the perfect position. Let me tighten all the knobs. And as soon as you let everything go, it starts sagging or starts moving. That's a bad ball head. Okay, so find one that's nice and stable. Okay, so I'm just looking through our system. One of the things that I use to carry my camera is here's my camera. This is my preferred camera right now. It's the Sony A7R5, and if you notice, I have a orange L plate on it. Right? I find L plates essential. Some people don't think it's necessary. You can just put a little plate at the bottom, and you could take a camera like this, and you could turn the camera this way and have it hang over the tripod. I find that that's not very stable. I will go ahead and get an L plate for most of my systems like this, because then I could put the camera in like this. And when I want to do a portrait shot, I take the entire camera out, just turn the thing over. And this creates a much more stable platform. It sitting on the ball head like this versus being held on the ball head and this little thing like this. So L plates are essential. This is made by a company called Three-Legged Thingy, I think. Yep, Three-Legged Thingy. And what I like about this particular one is it already has a little Peak Design tripod mount right here that's built in. The reason that's great is because I often use this device by Peak Design, which is a camera mount clip. So the camera would go in here like this, right? And this thing you can attach to your belt or the strap of your backpack, carry it like this on your backpack, carry it on your hip or however you carry it. And when you want to get the camera out, you just deploy it like this, super easy to take out and take your shot and put it back in. So the combination of this L plate, and they make it in other colors. I just chose orange because that's my favorite color. And this clip right here is an essential part of my kit as I walk around, as I hike, and as I backpack. So that's really great. Sort of staying on the theme of peak design, they also make these detachable straps. So they have a sort of a wrist strap like this. They also have a hand strap like this, which I think is great. You can see that. What I really like about the system is I don't necessarily always want this on my camera, and they've got these little hooks with a little bulbous end at the top. And when you want to attach a strap, you can put one of these on either side, or when you want to attach just a hand strap, you just put it in here like so and attach it. And it's super sturdy. This string that's used to attach is very, very, very sturdy. And when you don't want it, you just press this and easy. Very easy to deploy and very easy to take apart. So with the combination of these sort of tags and straps and hand and wrist straps and the L plate with the built-in little clip for the Peak Design system, it's a great way of carrying whatever gear you want. And they actually make these little clips that'll go onto lens tripod collars also. So you don't have to have it just on your camera. You could have it on tripod collars of your lens too. So some of the bigger lenses, I put one of those on my bigger lenses, and then I can attach that to the tripod via the tripod collar of the lens, as opposed to putting all the weight on the camera. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about filters. Because I'm a landscape photographer, I use ND filters, grad ND filters, polarizers. But sometimes I want to just take a few ND filters and not worry about a whole pack of grad ND filters, because the grad ND filters are, okay, like that's what I mean. This is my pack of grad ND filters. They're nice, they're huge. They're sort of rectangular. You have to slide them in place. But here is my pack. Actually, here's one. This is my pack of ND filters, right? These are nice and circular. I can just screw them on. If I need that grad ND effect, sometimes I'll take multiple exposures and then blend them. So sometimes I just want to carry something like this, something small. And again, this is a very generic pouch where I hold my ND filters. And you can see, these are all I carry. I used to say that variable ND filters were crap. They weren't good because they used to cause all these artifacts when you put them on ultra wide angle lenses. But companies like Nisi have developed a system which I think is brilliant. The whole problem with variable ND filters was that if you went to the very extreme, plus 10 or whatever, it used to cause all these artifacts, crosshatch artifacts, because essentially these filters are two polarizers stacked on top of each other that you're turning with respect to one another. So even with a regular polarizer, it can cause some artifacts in the sky. And when you stack two of them, you can cause a lot of artifacts. But they've done something clever. So this is what's called the Swift system. And they have actually limited the amount of neutral density effect you can apply. And it's actually right here on the front. It tells you 1 stop, 2 stop, 3 stops. And this one only goes up to 5 stops maximum. And you do this by taking this and turning it as you have it on your filter. So what we said, well, what if I want more than 5 stop of ND? So this is where the brilliance came in. They said, well, if that's the case, we've got one adapted ND filter that is 4 stops. So take the 4 stops and put it on your variable ND filter. So with the variable ring, you can go from 4 + 1, 5 stop, 4 + 2, 6 stops, all the way to 4 + 5, all the way to 9 stops. So now just carrying 2 filters, round filters, you can go all the way from 1 stop to 9 stop. and not get that crosshatch appearance because you're not going to the very extremes of your variable ND filter. This is brilliant for photography and for videography, actually. So I really like this system. This is made by Nisi, but I think other companies may also have that. Not sure. The benefit of going with Nisi is that they include this one other filter adapter in their system. It's called a Pro Mist. So it gives that, I don't know if you can tell, but if I get close, it gives this sort of halation effect. It smooths out the highlight. It lifts the shadow. I don't use this all the time for landscapes, but certain portraits and interviews, like right now, as I'm filming myself, as I'm showing, I have this type of filter on my lens to sort of smooth out the highlights. But they include that if you ever want to use it. So something to think about. Instead of carrying a big bag of like 5, 6, 7 ND filters, just carry this particular variable ND set. That's actually of high quality, the best quality I've seen so far of all the variable NDs I've tested. I used to not recommend variable NDs, but this is the one system I do recommend. Okay, let's move on to other things that I have in my bag. Okay, this is pretty cool. So sometimes all I carry is my mirrorless camera, but I don't want to, as I'm using it, I don't have a second camera to film myself. So I just take my phone. Phones are getting much better. I use my iPhone or my Xperia or whatever I happen to have with me, and then I just put it on top of my camera in the hot shoe, and then use that. And so this is the device that I use more often. Okay, most often. This is, again, pretty generic. I think many companies make this. So this is made by a company called Woohot, WOOHOT, WOOHOT. And basically what I like about this over other ones is everything is lockable. So if you notice, it's all locked. This is all locked, nice and secure. If I want to adjust this, I have to turn this lever, and then I put it, and wherever I have it locked to, I go ahead and lock the system. It doesn't move again. If I want to rotate this, there's a little lever right here, and then I can rotate it. Once I have it in the correct position, I tighten it with a lever. It doesn't move again. So a lot of other systems I've tried that hold your camera, your phone, none of these systems aren't lockable, right? And I'm a little apprehensive about leaving that on top of with a camera, expensive phone on it. But this one is great. And what I love about it is I have this other attachment at the very bottom. It's this thing here. I think hopefully you can see it. And this basically allows me to attach this to the top, and at the very bottom is a little plate that hooks on to the top of your mirrorless camera. Okay, so you can put it on top of your hot shoe, if you will, and film yourself while you're taking pictures with the camera, or you can flip the phone around, film yourself, and document what's happening with the camera. So this little combination, I think, is pretty awesome if you want to also utilize your camera to document yourself. It's also great for holding external lights if you need. If you want to use your primary camera to film yourself, you could put this on the top of your camera, put a light on here, and then go from there. Really great. So other things that I carry with me. So I always have this little bag. In fact, you can see it's all old and used. So what do I have in here? This is what I call my essential first aid kit. Now, you don't need a big first aid kit with everything, because hopefully you won't get that injured. But sometimes, as I do a lot of hikes, sometimes I may develop a blister. So I have a couple of Band-Aids and a couple of things to like a blister aids. And sometimes when nature calls, you have no choice. So I have some biodegradable toilet paper in there, and I have some gauze in there, right? So that's essentially what very, very light, takes a little space in your bag. So I carry a little like first aid light, if you will, for when I travel. And if you're doing astro, if you're hiking and you're out past sunset, you can use the light on your phone, but it's so much easier if you have a little headlamp. I always carry a headlamp because I don't know how long I'll be out sometimes. If I'll get stuck in a little storm and I have to wait it out, and then it gets late. So I always carry a light. I recommend getting a light that has either a red or a green light on it also, because that's easier on the eyes, and your eyes adjust to it better. And it's better if you're doing astrophotography. You don't want to disturb your neighbors, or you don't want to affect the exposure too much on your eyes, how your eyes adjust. So red light and a green light, in addition to a nice bright white light, is helpful if you can get that. But otherwise, just a regular headlight is also great, mainly for safety when you're hiking around or when you're coming back to the trailhead. I really think that's great. Sometimes I do carry several ND filters, the screw-on type. And then, for example, I have one on here. I think that I already. Yeah, here's one right here on my 16-35 lens. So here's my 16-35, and on this I already have a filter, an ND filter. And sometimes if I've screwed it on too tightly, or if I put on stacked multiple filters, one on top of the other, it may be hard to get off. Like, for example, this one I screwed on pretty tight, and I'm trying to, so I can't get it off. So in the field, if you can't get a filter off your lens, you're pretty much screwed. Or if two filters are stuck and you can't get it off, it's a problem. So I always carry one of these in my bag. This is a little filter wrench. That's what it's called. In fact, I think I have one still in this packet. This is what it is. It's made by Neewer, Neewer. It's called a filter wrench. They make it for several sizes. This one happens to be for 67 to 72. I usually carry the one for like 72 to 82 millimeters. So one of each. If you have filter sizes of different filter threads. So basically, what you do is you grab your wrench and you put it around your filter, and then you turn. See that? So much easier to take these filters off the front element of your lens if they're tight. And you may not have put it on very tightly to begin with, but because you left it down there, you went from a moist environment to a dry environment, low temperature, high temperature, and that in itself can cause a sort of a temporary bond between the filter threads, or between the filter and the front element of your lens, and they can be very hard to take off. And for that, this has never failed me. So it's so very cheap, just very light. Doesn't, the volume is very, very, very low. It's worth having in your bag, a little filter wrench. Okay, I have so much crap on my desk now. Let's see, what else can I talk about? The summer months in Seattle, particularly, or a lot of places where you have mountains and lakes, is perfect breeding ground for bugs and mosquitoes, right? So I often have bug spray and things like that. But even with that, sometimes they get like on my face. It's one of the places where I can't really protect myself with sprays, because oftentimes they say don't put it on your face, or don't put it next to adjacent to your eyes, or something like that. So because I do that, my face seems to be the place that these bugs always try to go for. And for that, I have this little device. I don't carry it all the time. Usually when I'm going for mountains or lakes, or when I in the summer months. It's made by Oregon company, I think. It's called the Deluxe Spring Ring Headset. It looks kind of goofy. I'll show you. It looks kind of goofy, but it has served me well. And you just sort of take it out, you deploy it like this. And if you have a hat on, or even if you don't have a hat on, right, you just sort of go like this, and voila, you're actually covered pretty well. They tend not to come in through the bottom for whatever reason, because your neck is all protected. But this is a little goofy looking, but it really protects you quite well against the bugs. So consider that in the summer months. It's not really a photography equipment, but as a photographer, if you get out there, the experience is not going to be very good if you're being constantly being eaten alive by mosquitoes and bugs. As I also walk around, travel, go to places, not necessarily even backpack, I carry water with me, of course, but sometimes I'll run across other hikers who maybe run out of water, or they need extra water. I always carry this little simple filtration system with me. I've tried several ones, and I like this the best because it's light, easy to clean, easy to take with me. And it's basically it's made by, let's see who this is made by. Oh yeah, Life Straw. And basically what you do is you take this, you put it into your reservoir of water, dirty water, you screw this on top like so, right? And basically you've got this now filled with water. you've got this cap on top, and all you have to do is suck out the water from here, and the filter system automatically filters the water. Almost pretty much all the bacteria and most of the viruses. So this is great. And if ever you need to clean it in the field, I love the fact that they make it very, very simple, and they give you this little cleaning syringe. You just attach this to your filter, and you just clean it with clean water, and you're good to go. This entire system here, it's super, super lightweight and compact, because this folds up. And I always carry this with me in my bag when I'm out hiking, and a couple of times actually. I've never run out of water, but I've ran across people who have run out of water, and this has actually helped them a lot. But I, just in case, I carry this for myself too. So something to think about. If you have plenty of water, maybe you don't have to worry about it. But a couple of times when I traveled with a friend of mine, he was drinking his water and he dropped his water bottle, and the water and the water spilled out, so it had no more water. But because we had the system, we were able to get to a little pond or a little stream and get more water for him. So good for emergencies. As a photographer, I think outdoor photography, it's essential. Now, if you like to do a lot of recordings of yourself, you know that audio is just as important, if not more important, than the picture quality. Because some people say you can watch something with bad image quality or picture quality, but it's very hard to watch something with very bad audio quality. So for that, I actually have this. This is my second set of wireless Go 2 from Rode. It has lavalier, so when I want to get great audio, this is the system I use. I haven't opened this one yet. I have another one that I have in my bag, but that one is being I've lent it to somebody. But in the meantime, I just want to show you what they are. So if you get this as a kit, it comes with a lavalier set and the wireless Go set. This is great. This has never failed me as far as giving me great audio. I don't always use the lavalier because this system allows you to just clip one of the pieces up to your lapel, but this just makes it easier. And it came as a kit, so I just got this anyway. So that's great for audio when you want to be about and record yourself. And people always forget this for some reason, but I think it's one of the essential gears, and it's just a good pair of warm gloves. I like this particular set of gloves by ProMaster for several reasons. One, it seems to fit me very, very well. It's nice and thick. It actually has magnetized ends for your thumb and your forefinger. So when you have it on, like so, this is a medium size, and you want to access your camera, you could slip your finger out. And if you don't have the magnetized version, or it just sort of flops around, which is kind of annoying, but the magnet allows you to hang it back like this. Same with your thumb. Now you have access to your camera and your screen or whatever and still be warm. In addition, what I really like about this is it has a pocket right here. So in the winter months, in this pocket, I put like a little heating thing, those little hand warmers or pocket heaters. And in other times, I'll put like a memory card in here, or a little cloth to clean the camera. So it's a nice little pocket and easy access for something that you use all the time. So this particular glove, it's made by ProMaster, but something similar by other companies, as I'm sure is good. But I've tried several ones, and this is the one I seem to have landed on most recently. So I really like that. And you think, oh, I won't need it because it's the summer or the fall. But sometimes when you get to a certain place, the weather could have changed. It could be wet. You never know. So I always carry that in my bag. What else have I? Oh, one last thing. So, you've got your expensive camera gear. The most vulnerable part, I think, of this system is your LCD screen right over here, right? So as soon as I get my camera, I protect that LCD screen with a screen protector. And, there are multiple brands out there. What I seem to like is the ones that are tempered glass. So here's one made by some generic company, ULBTER, but basically these are glass screen protectors. And it often comes in packs of 2 or 3, and then you take it out of the package, and essentially just one of these devices. It's pretty sturdy. It's pretty good glass. It doesn't affect your ability to touch the screen, and it protects that back element very well. You know, sometimes as you're walking around, as you're moving, it may bump up to something, scratch. You know, it's great for if you want to sell your camera later on, and it's always nice to say that you've got a protective screen on there, and it really does protect it. A couple of cases where I've actually dropped my camera and it's landed on, so the screen has been okay, but the protector has shattered, and I just take the protector off, put another one. And that's the importance of getting the sort of the glass, hard glass protector, is that if it's just a plastic film, it's not very protective of the screen. It'll protect against scratches, but it's not as protective against impact. So I really like the hard glass version of these screen protectors, and I haven't noticed any detrimental effect on my ability to do touch screen things. Okay, so those are basically the main things that I have in my bag. There are other things that I use, but they're not quote unquote essential for what I like to use. So I'd like to open it up for questions or comments, if we could.
I'm gonna start with a comment. Danny Moalem is the most underrated, top of the game with getting links up here. Danny, we salute you. He was working overtime.
Oh, great.
You got to give the people behind the scenes there.
Oh, yeah.
That's where all the magic is. I am nothing without my team. So, Danny, thank you. He says thank you. So appreciated. I love it because you know I wouldn't be I'd be putting up the wrong links up here and missing. We're gonna take it back to cameras because we did have a question from Bethany and joining us on YouTube. Bethany wants to know, what is the great camera for beginners? So I'm gonna broaden the spectrum on this, Mahesh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say let's talk. If you can give us 3 options for cameras for beginners. Let's go maybe like a point and shoot, mirrorless. Broaden it a little bit.
Yeah.
What say you?
Okay, so so forgive me, because for the last 10 years I've used a lot of cameras, but my bias is for Sony. So with that out of the out of the way, for the point and shoot, in fact, I have it. I have my favorite point and shoot right here. It's the Sony RX100. This is not the latest version. This is actually the one version before that. This is Sony RX100 Mark 6. They have the Mark 7 right now. If you're buying it brand new, there's no reason to get this one. Get the Mark 7. I think it's $100 price difference. Might as well get the Mark 7. But if you can get the Mark 6 at a used price, if you can get it for $300-400 less than the Mark 7, this is a bargain for that price. So that's my favorite. They also have older versions like Mark 3, Mark 4. The older versions, if you need to do low light photography, the zoom range isn't as much, but the aperture is much wider. So if you do a lot of low light photography and you're willing to sacrifice the big zoom range, then one of those may be a better choice. And they still have that available, actually, because they know that that's necessary. So that's my recommendation for a point and shoot. I guess the next would be APS-C or yeah. So something like, again, you could do a comparison, but start out with something like the A6700 if you want good in-body image stabilization, great video, top of the line autofocus, particularly for animals or kids. I mean, it's really great. I have mine here somewhere. I just can't find it in all this rubble. But there are older versions that are like the A6600. They're a comparable APS-C system made by other companies, Fuji, Panasonic, Olympus. They're all great too. I feel like the modern cameras and modern sensors, you can't really go wrong with any of them because they've really fine-tuned everything. It's any changes that come out are more incremental now. It's more focused on ergonomics, computation, photography. So you really can't go wrong with any of the cameras in sort of the $1,000-1,200 range in the APS-C system. But my personal favorite is the Sony A6700. I recently actually took it up to on hiking. I had 2 lenses with that. I had that 18-135 variable aperture, which is kind of expensive, and because it's not really a kit lens, and a prime, which is a 15mm f1.8. Those are the only two lenses I took, and I had a blast. And as far as full frame, if you want lightweight full frame camera, Sony just came out with the A7C Mark II and the A7CR. But for the beginner, a full frame, I think it makes sense to go something like the A7C2. It's sort of the smaller brother of the A7 IV. And right now, I can see no reason to buy the A7 IV. The A7C2 has better autofocus, better ergonomics, lighter battery life is just as good, same megapixel count, better autofocus system. So as a introductory full frame camera, something like the A7C2 might be the way to go.
Perfect. Wow, you're up to date, Mahesh. That's why you have like your own B&H shop on your desk there. You're a wealth of Sony knowledge. Now, I have a question. I'm going to take it to bags. What's going on in the world of bags, backpacks, slings? Where are we at right now?
That's the one thing I forgot. If I was going to say, I was going to show you my favorite backpack that I use currently. So, that's a perfect reminder. I have it right here. It's on the ground, so I couldn't. So this is, I don't know, can you see this? Is my current favorite bag, and let me know why I like it. It's small, it's weatherproof, it's rugged. It's got a very nice tripod holder in the front that you could use or not use, and it's not very bulky. It's easy to use and deploy. This entire system in the back, you can open up and put as much camera gear as you want or as little as you want. And what I love is, I'm often traveling, and actually even has a little sleeve for your trolley. You can put this over your handle, and so you don't have to carry it if you don't want to as you're going across the tarmac. This is the VO R48. It's made by Vanguard. Like I said, I've been very pleasantly surprised actually with this company, because it's not like expensive as like a Think Tank or or some of those or a Peak Design bag. It's very reasonably priced, and it's super sturdy. Okay, so this is my current favorite as far as an everyday bag. The inside is nice and organized. It's got side pockets for water bottle, for organizing your other equipment. And the most important thing for me is great, but the whole point of me taking something like this is you want to be lightweight. So good material and still lightweight. So this is my current favorite.
Nice. I'm so inclined to try to play a game of Stump Danny on the side of trying to throw out a product and seeing if we can get to it before Danny gets the link up in the chat, but it's not going to happen here. So I do want to ask your opinion, because I know we've had this question in the past, and it's something I myself have wondered about. So I just want to see what your opinion, if you have one on it, is the filters, the magnetic filters. My thing with filters is I'm always switching lenses, and then it's like, to get a good filter, they say don't put cheap glass on good glass, right? So you got to drop some coin on a good filter. But when you're like me and you've hit the point of your career where, I feel like in the beginning you use a zoom, then you use a prime, you keep that prime on for the next 15 years of your career, and you claim that you're a one lens shooter. And then after that, you get bored and you go and you change your lens every day. So that's where I'm at now. And I have 50 different lenses I'm constantly using.
Right.
For systems, I know they have like the magnetic filters that make it a little easier now. In the old school, where it's like you have the big square plate filters. What do you recommend?
So I've got the perfect filter just for you. Okay, perfect system just for you.
Wonderful.
Right. I don't know if you've heard of it. So have you heard of this? And this is not scripted. Okay, it's called the H&Y turn and release system. Have you seen this before?
Wow, is it?
Does it focus on this?
It's so thin.
So let me go like this. Maybe that'll help.
There we go.
Okay, so let me tell you why this is so unique. Okay, it's a little big, but if you can look, there is a mechanism when you turn this, it actually, see how the aperture ring goes down?
Like an aperture on there. Wow.
Right there, right? So this will fit any lens. So let's say you have a 82mm lens. Let me just get this out here. So
I'm glad I
to answer your
asked.
question about magnetic filters, I don't like magnetic filters because I tried it once. I've actually knocked them off accidentally and I've broken the filter.
It's not that strong, right? The
Yeah,
grip.
it's not that strong. So you turn the spring, the aperture that you want, and you put it on. Now it's on your front element. This is not moving anywhere. And you put any filter you want on here. Now you want to put another lens, you just take it, right? And then
It's just like
turn
a
it.
pinch release, or
Yeah, well, you turn it and then it releases the front element. So you go like this. You can't see it on the camera, but basically you turn the front element and it just comes right off. It's just a mechanism. It's like a spring release. And because it has threads on the inside, it'll grab onto the threads of your front element lens, right? And you can just easily take it from one to the other, and then just get an 82 millimeter filter on the front and use that. I don't know if you guys have that in stock or not, if you guys sell that, but it's made by H&Y, and let me tell you what it's called. It's just the case that comes in H&Y Digital. In fact, I have the actual box here.
Danny, I thought
Oh,
we
it's
had
called the
you.
Revering,
The
H&Y
Revering
Revering.
67 to 82 millimeter variable
Yeah.
adapter.
That's
Wow.
what you want. Just for you, Derek.
Just from wow. See, I couldn't stump you or Danny. You guys both got me. Looks like we got all the questions answered. Mahesh, always great having you on. It's always good vibes and always a ton of information. This
Pleasure
is
to be
why
here.
I save my questions for when you're going to be on. So hope you don't mind me sneaking those in. But
No,
look,
not at all.
wealth of information. A huge thank you to you and Sony for hosting. Everybody for joining. Mahesh, any closing words? You got anything going on you want to let us know about?
No, I just say, enjoy shooting. There's no wrong equipment. Just go out there and have fun. The fall weather is coming. The fall seasons are coming. The colors are changing. This is my favorite season for photography. Yeah, just enjoy it.
There you go. And as Mahesh has taught us in the past, Seattle's not always rainy. Don't give it a bad rap. It's a nice place.
We don't want to advertise that.
Tourists, stay away. Oh, Mahesh, always good to have you on, man. A huge thank you to you and everybody else who has joined us today. That's it. Another round of the B&H virtual event space in the books. Catch y'all next time.
Thanks, guys. Catch you later.
Thanks,
Bye.
Mahesh.